Okay, good morning. So we're up to Siman Shin Gimel Chaf Vav, finishing off this long Siman today, Mr. Shem, and we're discussing two really important halachas, and that is whether a woman, or in fact a man, as if it's appropriate, to braid hair on Shabbos, and also to comb hair on Shabbos. Is that allowed? Which circumstances would be permitted? So that we'll discuss in Mr. Shem today. So Chaf Vav. Also, likleya ha'isha sa'ara b'Shabbos. A woman cannot braid her hair on Shabbos, and lav dafka a woman, but that's obviously just the normal scenario, but it could happen for a man, I suppose, if that's the situation. He brings it in the notes. V'leila hatzir kli also, nor can she undo the braiding. Aval yichayla lachalik sa'ara, but they can sort of divide the hair. V'yesh eisrim lachalik sa'ara, to sort of even to split or divide the hair. Tahaynu la'asis ha'shaitel, to sort of to fashion the shaitel in that way. V'chein nagu le'asar la'asis alidei kli. Aval be'etz be'alma nagu lahakel. Not the minhag is not to use a kli to do this, to sort of divide the hair and to fashion it, but with your hands that would be okay. Now we'll talk about masrik and a comb in a second, but this is till now we're talking about clear. Yeah.
That the Ramah brings down the word
shaitel. Yeah.
The Ramah.
Yeah. Not a pair nachris. Yeah. I don't shaitel. Yeah, I don't think so. All right, let's go. So says the Machab, says the Mishnah Berurah Pei Base. So what is the issue? So it's only also midrabanan. Why? Mishum dedomi labinyan. When you braid hair and plait hair, then it's considered domi labinyan. Uchedarshina la pasuk vayiven Hashem elekim es hasela melamed shekila Hakadosh Baruch Hu lechava ve'via ala adam. When Hakadosh Baruch Hu created Chava, the lashon is, it says vayiven Hashem elekim. And the Targum explains that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is kila lechava ve'via el ha'adam. V'shekein b'krach hayam karen l'kliyasa b'niyasa. So it's a problem of binyan. Aval ha'kaleh nimin b'tolish. But if you merely braid sort of separated threads, which are tolish, which are separated, not connected to anything, Chaim mishum orach. Then the issa is orach and not boina. K'moshe kosav Rambam v'hocha b'se'er le'choshiv hariga mishum dehu mechuba b'reishay. But here the issue is that it's mechuba b'reisha, therefore it's clear and not orach. If you look at 57, he says utam hadavar shemechuba ein nechshav ka'orach. Why is it that if it's mechuba, it's not considered orach? The she'ein derech ariga b'mechuba b'reish, because that's just not considered. If it's mechuba b'reish, that's not the derech hariga, and therefore it's not caught by that, and it's considered clear. V'ait, continuing the Mishnah Berurah, de'ein soifa l'hiskayim, that it doesn't last. She'omedes l'stira, because hair which is mechuba is going to be undone, and therefore it's not lasting. V'hinei kol zeh mechuba, that's all when the hair is attached to the head. V'akulas sa per nochris shekerin peruk. Okay, so a different expression used. But if it's some sort of wig, shaitel, per nochris, after ein bezeh mishum boina, even though there is no problem of boina to braid the shaitel on Shabbos, also al kol ponim mishum orach. Since it's not mechuba, then it's got a problem of orach and not clear. Even if it's not going to last, that it's going to eventually sort of unravel, I'll call upon him. Also, nevertheless, it's still also to do that. However, it's not appropriate to protest in a situation where a woman will not listen to us and she is braiding some sort of shaitel. It's a drabonon, and therefore, if they're not going to listen, I guess mutar shiur shegin. But he says in 59, in a very interesting ha'ara, he says, in a situation where women are strict and they're careful about these halachas, v'yesh achas hareitz l'haka, and there's one who is bucking the trend and is not being careful with this. For her, you should protest, because clearly she's going against the trend and she's just not doing what everyone else is doing. She's not being as careful as everybody else. Okay, so not only can you not braid a hair on shaitel, but you can't undo it. Why? The domila soiser, because it's the opposite of boina. It's soiser, it's undoing. It says 61, the footnote there. If you want to take out the gumi, so gumi is my kids call it a bubble. It's like an elastic band that you put around the hair to hold it together. Das hagonim listen karelitz כשאין הכלי נפתחס מיד עם הסורס הגומי. If you take off the bubble, this hairband or the elastic band, the hair doesn't immediately unravel. אין זה נחשב סתירה מותר. So to take off the band which is holding it together, and it will be in place and just slowly unravel, that would be okay. That's considered stir klachiyad, that would be okay. So to take out the hairband in that way would be okay. Okay, pei daled. V'yesh oisrin lachluk sar. And there are those who asa to sort of divide the hair, mishum chashash tlisha, because the concern is you might pull out strands of hair. V'adas arishen to Mikeles, and the first opinion which says that doing it by hand is okay, given the ena eskavenes lezeh, you're not intending to pull out bits of hair. V'lapsik ratio, and it's not inevitable, and therefore it would be okay. All right, so Ad Kan, that was talking about clear braiding hair. Now Chaf Zayin is probably even more relevant, and that is, are you allowed to comb your hair on Shabbos? Can you brush your hair on Shabbos? It says the Mechaba. Also lisrek b'masrek b'Shabbos. You're not allowed to comb your hair on Shabbos. Va'afilu oisa she'oisim misah chazir she'ef she'shelo ya'akru sa'aros. Even if it's a brush made out of hair from a chazir, it's not allowed. Why? Because it's inevitable that some hair is going to be plucked out by way of your combing. But you are allowed to just sort of brush your hair with your hand. That would be okay. All right, let's see the Mishnah Berurah. Also, lisrek mishum tlisha se'er haguf, because you're not allowed to pull out any hair from your body on Shabbos. Tavi toldot goizes, because that is a tolda. It's a tolda of goizes, of shearing. She'i efsha pevov va'alkein af imein mechaven letzlishas haser gam kein osa. Even if that's not your intention, it's still osa to have a psik reisha, because it's inevitable. Now, if you look at a hairbrush, after there are hairs in the hairbrush because it's inevitable that it's pulled out hair. So brushing hair on Shabbos is a problem. But for Gemara is, and we'll talk about the contemporary practice today when it may be permitted. For Gemara is lahashir nimin umedudolin, that anyone who brushes hair, who combs hair, lahashir nimin, to remove strands, hamadudolin v'hainu shenitlishu k'tzas v'adayin le'nekru legamrei mischaven. He's trying to to put together hairs which are sort of hanging down. Kedei lahafrid heitiv sarosov, so his hair is well brushed. V'nafka minim is that afilu b'misrik rach, even if you've got a soft brush, kagoin barsht raka. What does he say that is? Mevreshes raka, a soft brush. She'ena psik reisha, then gam kein osa. So long as that's not your intention to remove the hair, if it's a soft brush and it's not a psik ratio that it's going to remove hair, then that would be okay. Kosev b'sefer Yeshuas Yaakov, Ro'isi, very strong words here. It says he saw in the writings of the Yeshuas Yaakov, Ro'isi anoshim mekilim nisrek reishon b'Shabbos. I see people who are mekel and they brush their hair or they comb their hair on Shabbos. V'kimat na'aseh dova kehete etzlom. It's like it's heter. What's the problem? This has become instinctively mutter to do that. Woe to the eyes that see this. La'avor b'shot nefesh lechalel Shabbos b'yodayim. That they are, which sort of brazenly and without thinking, they're just being mechalel Shabbos b'yodayim. It's a bit of play on words, really. And every time Chacham in town should warn people against this. Maybe they'll listen and they'll take musa and they won't do it. Ad kan dvar. So that's the Yeshuas Yaakov. And the argument which says, I'll look poor and I'll be embarrassed in front of my friends if I don't brush my hair. You can do it in a hetadik way. Canal. V'gam k'chidulekame b'siv cotton peizayin u'mevad kozen. Aside from all of this, halo yochel locho for the fast face seiros of biyad. You can either he's saying, like we said previously in peizayin, namely that you use a very soft brush, or you do it with your hand. V'lama yava isu chomer kazeh b'yodayim. Why are you intentionally using a hard brush where there's a psik ratio where it's inevitable you're going to be goizes seir on Shabbos? Use either a very soft brush where it's no psik ratio, it's not inevitable, or use your hands. Shelo ya'kru sa'aros However, to use a brush which is made out of chazir hair, then a combing would be a problem, because that's going to pull out hair. But so just to fix it up a little bit would be okay. But using a form of a comb, even for that, just fixing it a little and not properly brushing it is also. And it's better to have the soft brush, which is designated as a Shabbos brush, that if you have a designated brush just for Shabbos, then you've overcome the problem of uvdin dechol. And if it's a very soft brush, which is not inevitable that it's going to pull out hair, then it would be okay. We'll see more in Simcha Bunim Kohen in a second. And to use your hand to brush your hair, you sort of play your hair in place and brush it with your hand. That would be okay. That when you rub your hair, you scratch your hair, and you scratch your head, your scalp with your nails, with your fingernails. So a person may want to sort of scratch his hair using his couple, I guess, to avoid having to wash your hands. But he does like that, then and maybe a hair will fall out. You don't have to worry about that. Because that's not your kavanah. You're just trying to scratch your head, and you're not intending to remove hair, and maybe it won't come out. Of Mishnah Berurah you shouldn't scratch or rub your hair with something which is definitely going to remove the hair. Okay, so in Chaf Vav we said it's also the kloya. You can't braid the hair, and that's a problem of binyan. If it's tolush, which means if it's not connected to your hair, it's a shaitel or something like that, then it's a problem of orach. And then we said in Chav Zayin that you're not allowed to comb or to brush your hair with a brush, because it's a specific ratio that hair is going to come out. However, mutar lochif levasis biyad, the Ramah adds, but to do it with your hair, with your hand, that would be okay. And Lamaisa, that's really what Simcha Bunim Kohen says over here. Maybe I'll just read it to you because it's a very good summary. It is absolutely forbidden. This is Rav Simcha Bunim Kohen in the Shabbos Home, Volume 1, page 1462. It is absolutely forbidden to brush or comb one's hair or beard on Shabbos with a brush or comb that has hard bristles. This applies equally to men and women. Since all people have some loose hair or some knotted hair, brushing and combing with a hard bristled implement inevitably pulls out some hair, in violation of the malacha of shearing, of goizes. That's what we saw. It is permitted, however, to straighten out one's hair with one's fingers. So that's the remark we just saw. Now, the use of a brush is permitted only if the following three conditions are met. So when can you use a hairbrush on Shabbos? Three conditions. Number one, the brush must have very soft bristles, okay, that give way when they meet resistance. They're sort of very soft. Two, one may not brush forcibly or excessively, since even a brush with soft bristles will inevitably pull out loose hair if applied forcibly or excessively. Only a few light strokes are permitted, even though these strokes may be insufficient to make the hair appear perfectly groomed, but a few light strokes with a soft brush is okay. And third and last, the soft bristled brush must be set aside specifically for Shabbos use, because of the dechol that we saw in the Mishnah Berurah. Using the same brush on Shabbos that one uses during the week is forbidden because of uvda dechol. Okay, and then he concludes, one must note that although brushing the hair is generally permitted under these conditions, if an individual knows that even a soft bristled brush tends to pull out some of his hair, or even a single hair, he or she is forbidden to brush at all on Shabbos. So, I've seen them in the store that you can buy a Shabbos hairbrush. So what's pshat? So it's very good because, first of all, this Shabbos hairbrush has got soft bristles, but you've got to make sure that you don't brush it too hard. And number three, that it's designated for Shabbos. It's the Shabbos hairbrush. So with those three conditions, it will be mutter to brush your hair. But even with that, if you see that the Shabbos hairbrush is in fact pulling out the hair, then it'll be a problem. And to use your hand would be okay if just as long as you know you're not doing it for that purpose. Okay.